Hello and welcome back to another episode of Half a Clue Movie Review. Week 2 of our October spooky, scary, ghosty, whatever you want to call it, marathon. I'm Blake and I'm here joined by
Ron. Hey.
Jason.
And Miles.
How are you all doing today?
Pretty good.
I'm all right.
I'm not quite dead, so.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Although you're halfway through the horror month, which is your least favorite genre of movie.
Yes, yeah, it is nice feeling like I'm halfway through, especially because I think the rest of the month is going to be movies that I'm more interested in seeing.
I just got a call from the mayor, and he said that they're actually extending Halloween to the end of November.
Oh, God.
So it looks like we're going to actually do a spooky month in November, too.
What a guy.
That's not a big deal or anything. And by November, I mean next November. So
So an entire year.
so we're just going to be talking about horror movies for the next year. It's
That's
going to
why
be
I
great.
always vote for that guy, whoever he is.
Good job, mayor.
All right, so this week is Blake's choice for, today's film,
Ripley's
which is
Believe It or Not.
Yeah. What's today's film?
Today we are going to be talking about Halloween Ends.
Ooh. Okay. And why would you do that to us?
Well, so I really do want to preface this with, I watched this almost exactly a year ago. I do have a receipt for this, so give me a second.
Have your receipts ready.
I watched it on September 26th, 2023. So almost exactly a year ago is when we're recording this.
Our fact checker will confirm this.
We'll get our fact checker right on it. And I went into this movie. I remember this. I remember going into this movie expecting to hate it. If you were listening to us previously, we did actually talk about the last movie in this trilogy, which was Halloween Kills. I notoriously hated that movie. Or not notoriously. I think everybody agrees with me, right?
I think, it was very broadly, everyone seemed to also hate that film, which was disappointing because the Halloween 2018 was actually good.
I disagree, but we can talk about that later.
Okay.
So I went in expecting to hate it. I wasn't the biggest fan of Halloween 20... Is it 18 or 19? I think
18.
I wasn't the biggest fan of Halloween 2018. Halloween Kills was actually like this abysmal fucking failure. So then I just put this on because I was like, well, fuck it. It'll be a good time. Be a good kickoff movie to spooky season. It's going to be dumb. It's going to be stupid. It's going to be fun. It'll probably be really funny. And I put it on. And I remember just from that opening scene alone, I was like, hey, wait a minute. This is a really good opening scene. And then I watched the movie and I really liked it. And I remember immediately going online and saying, wow, I wonder what everyone else thinks. And it turns out everybody fucking hates this movie but me.
Yeah.
So I think
It's got a lower score than Halloween Kills.
That's
crazy.
that is bonkers. I'll start off with that. Yeah.
Some
I mean, I didn't think it was a masterpiece, but not that bad.
You never even seen Halloween Kills.
Well, I mean, it's, easy bar to jump over, I'm assuming.
Well, let's maybe we should start off with saying what our familiarity is with the franchise. Blake, do you want to start off?
Sure, since it's my movie.
It is your movie.
I really like the Halloween franchise. It's actually over the last 5 years become probably my favorite horror franchise. They're always entertaining, whether it's good, bad, awful, somewhere in the middle. They're always entertaining. Even the fucking awful Rob Zombie one was a fun watch. So I really like the Halloween movies. I haven't seen all of them. I've seen the OG first 3, the Rob Zombie, all the new ones. I may have seen H2O at some point, but I forget. So yeah, I'm mostly familiar with these movies. Ron?
The first one that I saw was actually H2O, or Halloween 20, the 20 years later. So that was an interesting introduction to it. And it's funny, it has a similar end where it's a similar concept where it's oh, look, we're bringing back Jamie Lee Curtis. And then she proceeds to kill Michael Myers,
Again?
quote unquote, definitively. She chops his head off with an axe. That spoilers for that movie, but it was
You shouldn't care about this movie.
now you probably shouldn't. It's still a fun time, actually. I think to watch it. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but the other Halloweens I've seen. I want to say most of them up to Curse of Michael Myers. Although I missed Season of the Witch. I skipped over that one. I do want to watch it because I know
You should. It's really good.
I do want to watch it because I know that's the outlier. Although. This film does seem to take some inspiration.
Similar.
Yeah. So I kind of respect, I think, where it's due. They're trying to do something different. But yeah, and overall, I do really enjoy the Halloween franchise. A lot like Blake says, where it's like I always enjoy even the bad ones. I've like had at least a fun time watching them, and for me, that's like the bare minimum. But also some of them I think really do cross over, where it's like, oh, this is like master horror here, and that's the first one really. And
That's
mostly
only the first
Yeah,
one.
it's really
Yeah.
only the first one. The second one I think feels more like it feels more like a Friday the 13th kind of film, which is not a franchise, like we spoke about in Freddy vs. Jason. It's not one I'm super attached to, but it does have its fun moments. But
Halloween 2
yeah.
is so much fun. I fucking love that movie.
Yeah, I enjoy watching Halloween 2 almost as much as Halloween 1, but for
Yeah.
completely different reasons. Yeah. That movie is fucking hilarious.
And then like in our the last time we talked about Halloween, I watched the first two in this trilogy as well, and I had very mixed feelings. I liked the first one, hated the second one, and then we'll talk about this one.
So I've seen 1 through 3 and H2O, the first Rob Zombie one, and I walked out of the second one because I thought it was shit.
That's getting a resurgence online. People
I
swear
hear
it's good
that.
now.
I hear that. Maybe I should give it another watch, but
It's getting the Jennifer's
Yeah, I
Bodies
didn't see
don't
that
know.
treatment.
one. I kind of want to watch it.
I don't know. It was just one of those days. We were in high school and we had nothing to do, so we went to see a movie and we're just like, you know what? Fuck this, and we left. And the only one from this trilogy I've seen is this one. And really, as I said, the only one I really like is the first one. I like the second one just because it's funny. The third one's really goofy and also kind of fun, but
The third one's a great time too.
it's not a good movie. That's the thing. There aren't a lot of good movies in this fucking, at least from what I've seen. But yeah, I'm not, spoiler alert, I am not a fan of this movie we just watched. So. Miles?
Yeah, I have seen Halloween movies. I don't know which ones, but I have seen them, watched them with other people, but I never actually paid enough care or attention to even figure out what movies they were. They were just Halloween movies.
So this is your first one you've sat down and watched start to finish?
Probably. I can't remember watching another one start to finish. That doesn't mean I haven't, though.
Okay.
We should probably talk really quick about why this one's kind of an outlier in not only the trilogy, but kind of in the series as a whole. This movie kind of takes a really bizarre direction where it's technically supposed to be wrapping up a trilogy, but it kind of just seemed like David Gordon Green went, fuck it, the other two movies kind of sucked. Let's just do a standalone movie. And it does feel like a standalone movie. I guess I'll ask you, Ron, because you've actually seen the entire trilogy.
It does depart. I think it does carry a lot of the weight from the first two.
Wait, what? Wait.
It's like, I mean, because you see Laurie, you kind of see, like, if you did watch the other two, then it helps you kind of see how she's evolved over the past two films, even if it is kind of iffy. And then I think most importantly, it's the granddaughter character. I forget her name, but her story, you can sympathize more. Allison, like, you see what she's also been going through, the trauma of losing both her parents and all the craziness in Halloween, and how she kind of like responds to that trauma versus how Laurie responds to it, and it's very different ways. Yeah,
I want to point out that I mentioned I wanted to watch at least the first one, 2018. And Blake's like, nope, don't have to. You don't have to do that. And I was like, okay, well, should I though? Nope. And so I didn't. And I do feel like I'm worse off for it because there were some things that I, like Allison's character, as you mentioned, I wish I understood her more because her actions in this movie make fucking no sense to me at all.
I think I was speaking to Blake about that last night also, where I was like, yeah, okay, I kind of like understand like the small few things that they tell us about where she's coming from. Yeah. Like her family getting killed by Michael Myers. But like, is that it? Like, I don't know.
That
She
really
did not.
is it.
Yeah, but she didn't seem like a fully formed character, and she jumped so quickly into what she was doing in this movie, which we'll get to.
Yeah,
but
and Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie. I didn't understand a lot of her. I mean, I guess I did. She's pretty much the same as she used to be. But, like, I don't know. It felt like I was missing a lot, and I don't know if that's a fault of the movie or the fault of me for not watching the others in the trilogy.
I'm in the same boat.
Let's kind of really quickly summarize the movie, because I do want to point out why it's kind of an outlier, and why I think you don't really need to see the other two movies. Maybe Halloween 2018. I
Yeah.
think you can pretty much skip Kills
I agree. I think you can skip it.
because
It's
nothing happens in that movie.
nothing of
It's
real
2
consequence.
hours of nothing happening.
no.
People
That,
going evil dies tonight.
that's why I was like, I was like, Miles, I wish you had seen the at least the original one, I guess, from like start to finish, because I feel like if anything, that one and 2018 are probably the most important ones to watch leading up to this. They're not vital, but I do think you are missing something, unfortunately. But yeah, let's go through the movie. Let's.
So the movie opens in Halloween of 2019. We're introduced to Corey Cunningham.
Which is the year after Halloween Kills, which
Yes.
is after there was like a major event.
Michael Myers
yeah,
panic.
Michael Myers came back after 2018, it's 2018, and like he resurfaces, he comes back. They
Well,
do have a bit.
that's the same night.
Yeah,
Halloween
does Kills take place on the same
Kills
night?
and 18 are the same night.
Okay.
Oh, I see.
So it's like the original.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like after Michael's been back, he's been on a rampage, he's been killing people. So everyone's very tense, like with the events that had just happened the year prior to.
Yeah, like the mom says something like, he's still afraid of Michael Myers. And I'm like, fucking, like, shouldn't he be?
Yeah, it's like,
I
it's
would
pretty
move.
understandable. Yeah.
I would just move towns at this point.
Yeah.
But yes, there's kind of like a Michael Myers panic going on. And the whole town, I actually really like the opening sequence with like the radio tuning in. And we kind of like see a glimpse of the town. And you just see there's all this like paranoia and misery, which is a huge theme of the movie. But we're introduced to Corey Cunningham, who is a college student or maybe a high school student in this.
He's
scene.
21.
Okay,
He
he's
said
21.
He's going to he's about to go to a big college. and
Yeah,
stuff.
he's about to go to a big college.
He's got a future ahead of him. He's a smart kid.
He's a smart kid, and he's babysitting a child. It's got this. By the way, I really love this opening scene. It's like one of the best parts of the whole movie. And he's babysitting the kid, and things get a little tense, and the kid pulls a prank on him,
Yeah.
and locks him in the basement with all the
Attic.
Attic. Yeah, that's really
Yeah, he
important.
falls
in
from
the
the
basement.
basement.
Yeah, it couldn't have been the basement. That's like literally the only room in the house it couldn't have been.
What if like there was like a Willy Wonka thing with like the fizzy lifting juice, and he shot up and like
Okay, so he locks the babysitter in the basement after hyping up Michael Myers, being like, he only
the
kills
attic.
babysitters. Sorry, the attic. God damn it. And then and he's freaking out. The guy is understandably really freaked out that Michael could be in there, because he's been like leaving the door open and all this shit, like leaves the knife out, like he moves the knife from like the stairs or up to the stairs, so he picks it up and he's like, oh my god. So he thinks that Billy is being killed by Michael Myers, which he probably is in most cases.
in most movies he would be.
Yeah.
And then a horrible accident happens where Corey Cunningham, right as the parents arrive home, accidentally slams the door open and knocks the child over the stairwell and has a long drop to the child's death.
Yeah, it's like 4 stories. It's
Yeah.
a tall house, which I like that they set up earlier as like she's yelling up to him, so you get that like good overhead shot of like how tall these stairs are, and so it creates that very eerie feeling. Like you just expect Michael Myers to pop out like almost at any moment, right? Like you would. Like that's like kind of the standard
That's
thing. Right?
normally how one of these movies would open.
Yeah.
But there is no Michael Myers. It's just a horrible accident, and it looks really bad for Corey Cunningham.
Yeah.
Because he's like holding a knife going, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you, Billy. Like he like bam, kicks the door.
And then the mom looks up, and Corey Cunningham's got the knife. Their child's fucking dead. And then, of course, the classic kicks in.
Yeah. Probably one of my favorite intro sequences too, with the what's it called?
The
pumpkins
pumpkins like
reshaping.
morphing.
Yeah, the jack-o'-lanterns like coming out of each other, and it's like you kind of already get this feeling that's like, oh, this is a bit of a rebirth kind of thing.
Yeah, it tells you exactly what the movie's going to be about.
I wanted to mention about how the kid was being like a little brat earlier, and like one of the things he said was basically like, "Oh, fuck you, you're not a hot chick," to Corey Cunningham. Like he
Yeah.
was pissed that he wasn't a hot babysitter.
Yeah.
I was like,
Which is-
okay, little creepy dude here.
Which is a callback. It's like the first one, and even a couple of the other ones too, where it's like he tells him like the kids don't die, the babysitters die, because Michael Myers was known as the events of the first one were known as the babysitter killings because they killed all the babysitters, and I'm trying to think if they kills like any not. Well, I guess like the random boyfriends who were around too that were screwing around. But like it's so it makes sense, and it sets you up with that idea where he's like the kids don't die. So I'm immediately like, oh, this kid's probably gonna die, and he does, but not in the way you expect. In like a really good subversion.
Yeah.
Did Bryan Johnson write this?
This, I want to say, is my favorite scene in the movie. It's all downhill from here for me.
I have to disagree. There is one section of the
We'll
film
get to it. We'll get to it.
Okay.
Miles.
Okay.
I just thought this was a great opening to a horror movie.
It was a fantastic opening. I mean,
It's a great setup to Corey's character as well.
This was one we watched it all together, and everyone pretty much audibly gasped, like, "Oh!" Like as the boom, the kid
Very
hits.
effective.
It was it was effective. It was a strong opening, and then it immediately just the music kicks in, and it's that new like revamped version. It's good. Also interesting, the titles card is in blue, which matches Season of the Witch. Unlike the other films.
Which
So,
I think is also kind of trying to pay
Yeah.
homage that this is also doing something a little different.
yeah, that's one of the things I did like, because there's a sprinkle a bit of like Curse of Michael Myers, of course the original, and then like even apparently Season of the Witch, which I didn't see, but like there's stuff in there that's like it feels like we're really trying to, in a way, kind of wrap up the franchise, even though we all know that's not going to happen.
Oh yeah,
but-
they're making a TV show now.
Yeah.
yeah,
Regardless, let's push forward.
yeah.
Then we get that great, I already kind of mentioned it, but that great segment where we just see a montage of Haddonfield and everyone's fucking miserable.
People are
Everyone's
killing each
People
other.
are killing. And I really like there's that scene with the cop where the other cop's like, this is the work of Michael Myers. And the cop's like, Michael never used guns.
He goes, Michael never uses guns.
But it set up this town as this whole town is traumatized and miserable. Everybody fucking hates each other. Everyone's just become this like huge piece of shit, which is a huge theme of this movie. This movie is about trauma, and it's about how it like shapes people. So this is a really good setup. We then catch up with Lori, who's like writing a book, I guess.
I didn't like the voiceover. She was. It felt like
It feels a little Hallmarky.
It was
last
a
week
big
on
info dump.
Halloween kind of thing.
It was just a big info dump, and I feel
Yeah.
like it was just an
It's
excuse for
fine.
them
It's
to
the
like
last one.
dump all the background information on you.
She does do the recap, which is like previously on Halloween.
Yeah.
Which I guess is necessary. Like, again, you guys having not seen the other two movies, did you
It didn't
think that
give me anything. It
No,
didn't give me
no.
anything.
Like I feel like I could have just watched, the original and gotten like probably.
All it did was tell me, oh, Michael Myers was a guy who killed somebody and then he escaped from prison and now we're afraid again.
Okay, all right.
I mean, that was the gist of what she said.
I mean, pretty much, yeah.
Anyways, we then follow Lori and her granddaughter. They're both adjusting. Then we meet back up with Corey Cunningham, and it's 4 years later.
Maybe.
I think
no.
so.
Yeah,
3
yeah.
years later.
Something
3 or
like
4
that.
years later.
I think it's 4 years. Yeah.
4 years later, Corey Cunningham is now stuck in town. He's working as a mechanic. His life has kind of gone to shit. He's become like a social pariah. Everybody just knows him as the guy who, quote unquote, killed that kid. There's a lot of like disbelief and distrust in him. And his life's just really shitty. Like everything has essentially fallen apart. And then he ends up meeting the granddaughter character, and the two of them kind of start having a relationship, and we kind of see them bonding over their shared traumas. They've both gone through horrific things in the past, and they kind of build a weird relationship based on it. You're shaking your head.
I mean, yes, but no. It just seemed like she was really attracted to the. I guess maybe because I hadn't seen the other movies and I didn't know who the character was at that point, really, other than she was related to Lori. It seemed like she was just really attracted to this creepy dude who killed a kid, and it seemed like she got off on like this guy being dangerous and a killer.
I don't necessarily feel that way. I think it was more that she sympathized with this guy who's like a pariah, who's getting shit on by the town, because we do see some of that, which I think
That happens to her mom, right?
yeah, like her mom or her grandma is like Lori gets shit on because everyone's like, the reason why Michael is rampaging is your fault, which is one of the things I didn't like, because that felt super forced. because I'm like, why is everyone blaming her?
I don't wanna
She didn't fucking do anything. She was just there the first night, and then like he came back for her to like kill her.
That's not true though. I don't want to give any credit to Halloween 2018, but they do set up, if I remember correctly, I haven't watched it since the last time we talked about these movies, but if I remember correctly, Michael Myers was not there for Laurie in the 2018 movie, but she kind of sought him out to like fight him.
Oh yeah,
And that kind of caused him to go on like a rampage.
She had gone like full like doomsday prepper. Like her house was like
She was
rigged.
doing like pull-ups and like shooting her gun and shit.
Yeah, like she has been like, I'm waiting for the day that Michael comes back. She'd gone like, oh my god, I'm trying to think from Terminator 2. Sarah Connor, where she's like, it's gonna happen. It's coming up. I know it is. Eventually, he's gonna come back, and everyone's like, "Geez, lady, like get a life." And in this film, the irony is that like she is trying to move on. She's moved back into town. She's no longer in her weird like backwoods home because it did burn down. But also, she's like trying to move on and move past it, and like because they just think that he's dead. So she's like, "Oh well, I'm just gonna settle a new life." But then the people in the town like just like shit on her any chance they get. They're like, "Hey, you suck. Yeah, you're the reason that
Except for the sheriff.
Yeah, except for the sheriff. He's the only one who's like
got the hot pants for her.
Yeah, old people sex. It's
Old people sex. They should have gone more in depth with that,
just it's as graphic as possible.
That was like some of the most awkward flirting I have ever seen, though.
I thought
it was sweet.
I thought it was fine. It was two people that were distanced and older. I thought it worked.
It was more believable than Allison and Corey's relationship.
Yes. Yeah.
But even then, yeah, like she kind of, I think she sees with him, she sympathizes with him because she's like, okay, you're getting shit on a lot for something that was very, very likely an accident, and I'm sorry. So then she tries to like take him in. I think they could have done more to kind of like sell it, I think. But like, oh, also notably, Laurie is the one who finds him after he's getting like beat up by like those like 12-year-olds, like I don't know,
fucking band geeks beat him up.
The fucking middle schooler from like Jersey with the Letterman
yeah,
jacket.
he does have like that really heavy accent, like the Jersey accent.
Yeah, I'm like, I thought this was Indianapolis or no, Illinois. Sorry, it's like, well, whatever.
He moved from another school. It's fine.
Yeah, he gets bullied by those guys, and then there was a moment when like they're kind of closing in around him, and then he like smashes the milk glass in his hand. Where that was like my first thing where I started thinking like, oh, maybe this guy, like maybe they're gonna try to invert it that way, where maybe this guy is gonna like, turn to the dark side or whatever. Like I don't know.
As the movie continues, things kind of just get shittier for Corey Cunningham, and then, oh yeah, during that or no, it's actually not the same sequence you were talking about. It's like the second run-in with the bully characters.
Yeah,
they push him off a ledge that should have killed him, and they kind of do a homage shot to the original where he gets up seemingly from being
Is that
dead.
when that happens?
It's later. It's later in the movie.
I thought it was later. Like I thought it was
because that's after him and what's her name already had the fight.
it's when he falls off the
radio
yeah,
station.
the radio station.
Yeah.
That's when he
okay,
pops
okay.
up.
But either way, we also I think a little bit maybe before that, I'm not sure.
There's like 2 or 3 shots that are like replicating shots from Halloween, like the original one.
Yeah.
Where Corey Cunningham is shot in a very similar manner that Michael Myers was.
Yeah.
That's like one of the definite ones.
Yeah.
But
There's like but there's also a scene we also get to see his parents and what his home life is like.
Oh, his
awful.
parents are fucking awful.
Awful.
Yeah. His mom is like a weird psycho creep lady. And then his
Who,
dad is
like makes out with him.
Yeah. And it's like, again, things like that. With that scene was happening, I was like, okay, I kind of see where they're going. That's like confirmed for me where I was like, I see. They're trying to turn this dude into the new Michael Myers, essentially.
Okay, but I will say, until his mom made out with him, she just seemed like a very normal, overprotective mom.
No
who's
way.
no, she
No,
doesn't.
that is not normal behavior.
Wait. No, guys. But think about this. Her son got accused of murdering a child, and she's worried because basically he's the town pariah. She has reason to be overprotective of him,
I guess, but
I was like, she didn't seem as extreme until she made out with him, at least in my opinion.
I think when he was like texting at the dinner table, she's like, who are you texting? What are
Yeah.
you talking to? And it's
Or-
just like, whoa, like that felt out of nowhere. It's like, don't you want him to have friends? Don't you want him to like socialize with people? And she's like, no, like, what are you doing? Like, it felt very like Norman Bates and like his mom kind of relationship.
Or like when he came home and he was like covered in cuts and bruises, and like he's walking up the stairs, and all she's doing is like, "Where the fuck have you been?" Like, she's just yelling at him. It's just like, do you have no compassion for your son who's like clearly had a very rough night? You don't want to, like, I don't know,
Are you okay?
take him to the doctor?
Yeah. But yeah, so then he goes down and he lands in the homeless encampment, and he meets the creepy homeless dude who's just like, "What are you doing here?" And doesn't he toss him into the storm drain at that point? Or
Does he get tossed in, or is he going willingly?
I think he kind of does go in.
No, he gets
Oh,
dragged
he gets
in.
dragged in.
in.
Yes.
Yeah, Michael Myers drags him in.
He sees him and he's like, and he pulls him in. And then comes another sequence that I didn't quite like. Where,
You're referring to Michael Myers like seeing into his soul.
yeah,
Yes.
he has like the spirit of vengeance moment from Ghost Rider where he's like choking him out in a very classic Michael way, like, and then like he just like looks in his eyes and then he sees all of the shit that's happened to him and he's just like, oh, this is the one or whatever.
Yeah.
I really like that. I thought that was a cool moment.
How do you like that? Explain.
What don't you like about it? What's
It's
your
fucking
issue?
dumb.
When-
That's all I need.
Okay.
It's stupid.
Why is it
My-
he
my-
looks into his soul and says, I'm not going to... The one person he's ever come in contact with, and he's just like, no, I'm not going to kill this guy because I can see into his soul.
Why?
One question.
It's dumb.
One question. Have they ever shown him to have this soul-seeing power before?
As far as I know, I think Curse of Michael Myers was like the first time where you kind of see a more supernatural element that's more confirmed. There's like a cult or whatever that's like kind of worships him and like they kind of like want to revive him or whatever. And he's also living in like the storm drains, I believe, or the cult is in the storm drains. It's been a long time, but like that aspect of it. So like the other ones beyond that, before like 420, sorry,
420.
age 20,
Michael Myers 420.
Halloween water.
Halloween bong water. No, it's I don't think they've exactly shown him have something like that, which is I think why it bothered me. It's like if they'd shown, I don't know. It's like I think it would have been. Well, I don't know. I don't want to just like create theories about like how let's fix this movie, but like I feel like if he had just gotten away and then maybe he was like Corey was more entranced with like the power or the whatever behind Michael and then decided to become him more, would have been more satisfying to me.
I don't know.
See, I assumed that it was one of his powers to begin with. Sorry, I'll let you get back, but I assumed that was like a power, so I was fine with it. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as I know, the only like powers Michael Myers has ever had really is that he's just kind of immortal, right? And they don't even explicitly state that, do they? It's just kind of like,
I mean, fucking Halloween Kills might as well
somehow
have.
he's returned, you know?
Yeah, it's a lot of
Somehow
those.
Michael Myers has returned.
Yeah, exactly.
It's part of those things because he's always has the mask on. It's a lot like Jason Voorhees, but I think Jason Voorhees is a little bit more explicit in like how much they like, you know, stab and shoot and whatever. But Michael does get stabbed and shot a lot, but in ways that are like maybe plausible he could have lived somehow, but a lot of the times it's like no. And the first one is probably the most direct scene where he gets shot by
Dr. Loomis.
Dr. Loomis and he falls off the balcony and then they're like, that's it, he's dead. And then he's gone. So it's like, oh, but like maybe he limped out or whatever. But in the second one he's back and he's fine, essentially. So I think at that point they're like really confirming he really is more supernatural than he appears maybe at first. But
I don't know. I was generally okay with it. It's a fucking Halloween movie. Who gives a shit? Whatever. He
Yeah,
can look
but
into someone's soul.
It's inconsistent with other Halloween movies,
Yeah,
which is why I have a
you gotta have
problem with
rules
it.
for these things.
Oh, the thing about the Halloween movies is that it's like a fucking children's pick your own adventure book. This is only a sequel to the last two movies and the first movie. And then the other movies are all jumbled on what is and isn't canon.
that is true.
This series is a disaster. It's got worse continuity than the X-Men movies. Like it's a fucking nightmare.
It is up there. Yeah.
I don't know. Just, both times that I have watched this, I never thought anything else other than, oh, cool.
Well, also what's inconsistent is the fact that he doesn't kill him. Michael Myers shouldn't give a shit. Like, he's evil incarnate, right? He shouldn't have sympathy for people.
I think it's more like he sees Corey Cunningham as a tool for destruction because I haven't even talked about this yet. One thing I do like about this movie that's a little different, I like that Michael Myers is like elderly and like it kind of feels like he's dying.
I do like that.
Like he's He seems like he's on his last legs here.
Like he's kind of limping around. He's clearly
He's much slower than he normally is.
he's burnt. He's not like as ridiculously OP as he normally is until later. But like he is kind of like, he does seem like he's on his last leg. So that's again like, oh, his window is closing. He's finally like,
it's like the pumpkins reshaping. I see this as like, if he is evil incarnate, this is evil recognizing evil. You know what I mean?
Or trying to spread it, or trying
to spread it.
The
Because
one thing,
did he infect Corey's mind when he did that? Did he infect him with the curse of Michael Myers?
he might have, but I like the
The fact that we're even having that discussion is fucking stupid.
No, that's cool that we're having this discussion based on this.
I'm okay with the idea. Again, I think it's like if he just picked up the torch or was just like, I'm gonna do that,
If
or
Michael
something.
Myers literally handed him a torch.
Yeah. He just like takes off his mask slowly and puts it over him. No, like, but something like that where it's like they fight, but like Michael doesn't have that thing in him anymore, and like Corey just straight up murders him, and he just like, oh yeah, like I don't know. It is kind of funny that he's working in a junk shop, so like they have him in that like
That similar outfit.
Yeah.
the outfit and stuff. Like, oh, I see what you did there. And other little moments. I think, okay, the one thing that I will say is consistent with Michael Myers through all of the craziness is the focus on his eyes. They always say his eyes are like black pits. They're voids. Loomis has his whole spiel about it. And it works. It works pretty well, that the idea of like he has this empty, cold darkness in his eyes since he was a child. Because that's the thing. When he was a kid, he murdered like his whole family and
His
everything.
sister, I think.
Yeah, his sister and like her boyfriend or whatever, seemingly for no reason, which is what I love. That's one of the things I really love about this. It's not like some revenge thing or some crazy thing. He's just a pure evil entity, and that it was a child. And especially in the first one, when if you've never seen it or anything, you don't understand quite yet until you see like maybe his hand. You're like, that's a kid. And then like when he kills everybody, and it's like, oh shit, and they take the mask off the end, and it's just a little boy, and it's like, oh crap, this kid has just murdered everybody for no reason. He's just evil incarnate for no reason. So it is kind of consistent that it's his eyes and he's looking into him and he's like, oh, but it did feel goofy. I'll be honest.
I feel like there's a better way for the torch to be passed rather than Michael Myers looking into his soul.
See,
honestly, if Corey had just straight up fucking murdered Michael Myers in that scene, I would have been way more on
I don't
board.
think that this is the scene it should happen in, because I also...
No, but like maybe not this scene, but at some point in
I
this
agree
movie...
with you. I would have preferred that, and we'll get to it, because there is the scene where that should have happened, and we'll get to it.
Okay, so he looks into his eyes and he's like, I see you. And, he lets him go.
And then he accidentally kills a homeless person, the same homeless person that was like giving him shit earlier.
Yeah. He stabs him with the knife that I think Lori had given him earlier. Am I wrong? Because like they use it to stab out the cut the tires of like the...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So he stabs the shit out of the homeless dude, kills him. His first real kill, I guess. Or his first like intentional, more
he
intentional.
killed the kid.
That's true, yeah. But his first like, I guess more like...
I don't want to call this intentional either. It's
slightly
still kind
more
of an accident.
Yeah, it's like self-defense,
Okay.
but it kind of like, you see him do it and he's just like, oh.
Yeah, I think you could argue self-defense, but he could have taken that guy without killing him, I think.
Probably.
But also, Michael, the homeless dude knew that Michael Myers was in the sewer the whole time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he says,
Like-
get me Michael Myers' mask.
Yeah. Because he was like, I guess it's kind of implied that he was like bringing him like sacrifices, because there's like a lot of like missing posters and stuff around town. So they do kind of imply that people are still being killed by him, but it's not as like overt before. He's not going home to home anymore.
Yeah,
he
he's pretty much just stays in his little
murder
sewer.
pit. Yeah.
Michael Myers lives in a dumb,
Yeah, he does.
deep underground military base. Moving forward, after this, Corey and the granddaughter go on a date. There's another sequence I really like where I think it's like the first time in the whole movie we kind of see Corey let loose a little bit. He's like, they're at the bar. They're like, it's like Halloween themed, so he's got his like creepy clown mask on.
Some
Which is
really awkward dancing.
Another homage to the original. That's the kind of like the mask that Michael wore when he was a little kid, because he was
very
dressed like a
similar.
clown.
They're dancing, they're having a good time, and then Corey goes to the bar to order a beer, and then to the right of him is the mother of the child that he accidentally killed in the first scene, and then she just like turns to him.
It's like, you having fun? bud. Like,
Yeah. It's like, so another thing of like denial is a big thing for Corey, where it's like a lot of times whenever he gets close to having something, it just is ripped away from him
Like
in like
the
the
chocolate
ugliest
milk.
way. Yeah. In the opening sequence, he's like trying to grab some milk, can't get it. He's
he
trying to get
gets
some.
bullied for drinking milk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he breaks the milk glass later on. when
Yeah.
he's-
So this is like he's finally letting loose. He's finally like kind of forgiving himself, maybe.
and having a good time and not being obsessed with this incident.
And then like worst case scenario, the mom is there and she's just like, what?
She's like, "Fuck you."
Yeah, that good scene. Really liked that scene. Fucked up, really sad. They do a good job of really making you feel sympathetic towards Corey.
Yeah, and I really like that actor. He did a really good job.
No, he was
playing
great.
That part.
I don't think anyone's bad in this movie.
No.
No, the acting's not bad. I didn't have a problem with any of the acting.
Anyways,
Maybe the old man who was flirting with Jamie Lee Curtis, but
Yeah.
Will Patton? No way. He's great.
I don't know. It wasn't played.
I think that
To my
the
liking.
writing in that scene didn't work.
That might be
more
it.
so than
That might
anything.
be it.
Yeah.
anyways, it becomes dry for 5 minutes for some reason, which I'm okay with. I liked that. I was a lot of you were laughing and talking shit about that, but I kind of like that it becomes dry for 5 minutes where he's driving his motorcycle and like techno's playing, like whatever. And then is that the scene? Speaking of what's his name? Is that the next scene where they're at the diner and the older cop who is either in
No. The next scene is when he gets bullied, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because
That's when he meets them on the fucking
yeah, that's when he.
bridge.
Okay.
That's
so
when he meets them on the bridge.
Yeah, so-
is right after that.
we got this a little bit out of order.
Yeah.
But the that happens, that's when they go back to the chop shop, or not to the chop shop, to the repair yard that he works at, right? And those kids bring their car in, and he uses that to
Well,
fuck
that's
with
near
them.
the end. We're all over the place here.
No, we're almost to the end.
No,
This
they
is like-
see they get to see the Jersey kid getting bullied by his dad because his dad's like, "You stupid piece of shit," and like
He's like,
smacks him
yeah.
around and stuff. And then he's
I
just
may
like,
have missed that. I don't know. I went to the bathroom at one point.
I don't know. This movie's all over the place. The order of the scenes just doesn't always make
all
sense.
over the place.
No, so he gets. Here's how it happens. They go to the bar. The mom bullies him. He's walking across the bridge. The kids bully him. They throw him off. And then that scene with Michael Myers, the first scene with Michael Myers happens. And then he kills the homeless man. And then
After that,
he fucking like kind of goes and talks to Lori and Allison again.
yeah,
Right?
I think that's like the first moment when you see him. Another mirroring shot of like this of the first one when Michael is standing between the sheets, like watching Lori.
Oh yeah, he's in that exact same like position.
Yeah, he's like standing outside, just like staring up,
and that's
she's
when
like,
Lori's first like, wait a second.
yeah, and then she goes out and she sees him, and then she speaks to him, and she's like, his eyes, something. It's just like I've seen it before, like in Michael's, and then the granddaughter, Allison, is like, no, like fuck you, like I'm not dealing with that shit. I'm not going back down that rabbit hole of being scared and like of always having to like be terrified of my life because Michael's bullshit. It's like that's done. We're over it. I'm trying to move on with my life. This guy's a good guy. He had a horrible accident, but it's not his fault. And I understand that part of it. I'm like, okay, that's more. That's where I'm more behind their relationship and stuff.
And then the next scene is when they're at the diner, or am I mixed
Yeah,
up
probably
still?
because he takes her there and he apologizes for freaking out and for kind of yelling at her like, why did you take me outside, after the party, and he gets yelled at by the mom. And then the weird older guy who's like been flirting with Allison the whole time, he like tries to go up to her and he's like, hey,
Wasn't he her ex-boyfriend? Is that what's implied?
It's kind of vague, actually.
yeah.
I thought someone said they like used to date or something. I could be wrong.
Possibly. There's an opening sequence where she's like flirting with him. He like pulls her over and
Yeah.
and she's just like, get out of here. And he's just like, oh.
well, did she have a boyfriend in the previous movies?
Yes, but
he
he
got
was like
killed.
her age, and Michael
Okay.
Myers kills the fuck out of him. Like he gets killed so hardcore too.
Yeah. And then, that's when Corey like stands up and like yells at him and like intimidates the shit out of him, and he basically is leaning into, the freak like aspect of it where everyone's like scared of him and shit, and he's just like, yeah, you better back off, you know, because
I killed the kid, I can kill you. He doesn't,
Yeah.
he doesn't actually say that.
he might as well have.
And then after that is when he leads him down he like plays a game of cat and mouse with the cop and kind of leads him towards the sewers.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And then he leads him to Michael Myers, who, once again, I really like this aspect. Michael Myers is not the killing machine he once was. Like Corey's like holding the cop in place for him.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, show me how to do it. Show me how to do it." And it's like he's getting like sexual pleasure from watching Michael Myers kill this guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of, yeah.
It's a great fucking scene.
Yes, and oh no, that's the next scene in the sewer. I was gonna say I really like the way it was shot, but I like the way a lot of this movie is shot.
Yeah, no,
But,
the movie looks fantastic.
yes, but yeah, it was a good scene, and even Michael kind of gets like a sexual release out of that. He like fucking like
he goes,
shivers and shakes.
It's like recharging his batteries or something.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, dude. And that's it. And then and that's when you again really start to see Corey. Is that when he takes his mask?
No, he comes
Oh,
back
fuck.
for it later.
Okay. Sorry for how all over the place our tracking of the storyline
I just want
is.
to say, we were all pretty drunk while watching this.
We shouldn't have been.
We were supposed to watch it like 3 hours prior, but we just kept waiting for more and more people to show up, and
Kept
we just
getting
kept
delayed.
drinking more and more.
It
So,
was a poor decision on our part.
Yeah.
I had fun watching it though. I thought it was a good fucking watch.
It was a good time.
I enjoyed the watch. It's just like there are instances where it's like mixed up in my head, like what
Yeah.
happened when. But also, I feel like there wasn't really a clear plot progression in this movie.
I think there is though. This is very much.
I disagree, yeah.
This is a very straightforward, like turn to the dark side kind of movie.
Yeah.
It's a villain. It's like a villain origin movie for a movie that's never going to follow it. Because to me, the whole movie is just the corruption of Corey Cunningham and his transformation from kid with a bright future in front of him to being Michael Myers 2. And I really like that progression of the story. And it does happen slowly and subtly, and every scene's kind of adding more and more to that story until it's not, but we'll get to that.
So he kills the cop with Michael by helping him out.
yeah, and
It's
this is
they're
like
jerking off together.
from here on out, it's like, mask off, pardon the pun.
Yes.
But like from here on out, Corey's just like he's just spiraling. And
I think
he's
this is
becoming
the
more
sequence
evil.
where he goes home and his mom like kisses him, right?
Yeah.
And like everything just is really starting to go wrong in his life. And then I'm trying to remember what happens in between this Michael Myers scene and the next one. 'Cause
So,
he does come back.
no, that's
they,
the thing
they
with
go to
the
the house
kids.
and they kill like that
oh
nurse.
yeah, because he
and
does
the
it with the other
doctor.
mask first.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Michael takes him on like a training kill spree.
Yeah.
And they kill
doctor.
Allison's
Yeah, like her
coworker.
coworker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the boss and the coworker,
The doctor, and yeah.
and then
In a very classic way too, he like pins her to the wall,
Yes.
which is like another callback to the first one.
Yeah.
Which is good, but I never really even bought that in the first movie. Like I just think it's dumb. But whatever, it's fine.
It's
It
cool.
works.
It's cool.
And then there's a confrontation that he has with Lori. I guess that was like right before he goes back for the final time, but where she confronts him and she's like, "I see the evil in your eyes," and like, "Stay away from my
Wait, did
granddaughter."
that really happen, or was that a dream sequence?
Yeah.
Because they lead that. I really like this movie. That is one part of it that on both watches I was like, I can't tell if that really happened or that was like a dream
Well,
sequence.
no, she's already suspicious of him
Well,
at that
she is,
point.
yes.
Yeah, so I thought it was real. I didn't think it was a dream sequence, but I figured like that actually happened, and that's like what pushes him to go back and ask Michael Myers, "I need more power."
I kind of wish they had leaned more into that. Like I almost
Yeah.
wish that Michael was already dead or something, and he was just like full schizo,
like
just
schizo, yeah.
just like imagining him being there and helping him and guiding.
That
him.
would have been a
would've
really
been-
good way to
yeah,
play it.
that would have
yeah.
been cool. I would have appreciated that actually.
That'd been cool.
And then he eventually goes back for Michael Myers' mask. He goes back to the last sewer sequence.
He's like, "Give it to me."
I love this scene. He just shows up there and fucks up Michael Myers. He beats the shit out of an old man. It's great. And then he takes the mask. And this is where I agree. I think because I really like how they shoot it. The camera stays.
It's great, dude.
The camera stays on the outside of the pipes leading into the sewer. And all we see is their struggle, and they're going in and out of frame because all we can see through is like the circular end of the sewer. And it eventually ends with Corey Cunningham winning, and he gets like the upper hand and just beating the shit out of him. This is where I would have changed it. I would have had Corey Cunningham take Michael Myers' knife and murder Michael Myers definitively right there.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
So
That would have been fucking awesome.
okay, what I would have done personally, I think we talked about this last night. Left this the same, but changed something that happens a little bit later on to make it so that Michael Myers, it's not definitive that he's dead, but it's like he's probably dead, but he might not be.
It leaves the window open for
Yeah.
the bajillion sequels that'll come eventually.
Exactly. Yeah. So I would have done it like that personally, but I do see where you're coming from, where I feel like there needed to be some manner at the end of this movie where it was like, oh yeah, he is dead, or he's probably dead, and
Well,
Corey did it.
I think the movie ends the way it does, specifically to say this is the end of this trilogy.
We'll get to that because the ending
yeah.
is the worst part of this fucking movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
So he takes Michael Myers' mask and he goes on a killing spree. He murders all the bullies, including the girl who's nice to him, which is a touch I kind of liked. Kind of reminds me of the Rob Zombie movies, actually, when he kills Danny Trejo.
No, Mikey. Why? I was your friend.
And man, she gets the most brutal death too. He like smashes her fucking head in with like the fence, the chain link fence. He kills the DJ guy that was rude to Allison. Is that her name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He kills the DJ guy that's rude to Allison. It's implied that he kills his mom. We don't actually see that kill, which is bizarre.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be like,
The main kill.
yeah, the most brutal one, but
And then he goes for Jamie Lee Curtis, who has this like suicide fake out scene, which I actually thought she killed herself when I first saw it. I bought it. I don't know about you guys.
I don't know if I bought it, but I think it would have been really fucking stupid had she done it.
Yeah, fair enough. I was like, why?
Because like I don't know, she shows no signs throughout the movie that she wants to kill herself.
That was fucking
No.
hilarious.
And
She's
then-
like, you really think I was going to fucking kill myself?
Yeah, that was kind of funny.
I love
But
Jamie Lee Curtis so
yeah, the
much.
closest thing they get setting up to that is her having the big argument with Allison, and Allison's like, I'm done with this, and whatever, and she runs off with her psycho boy.
Because they're going to run away at one point
Yeah.
to a new
Yeah.
town together, but then he goes all full Michael Myers.
They're gonna move to Elm Street.
They're going to move to Elm Street, and we're going to have Freddy versus Michael Myers. So then the climax of the movie happens, and in my opinion, the real ending that they wanted to happens, which is Laurie wins the fight, but then Corey Cunningham, as a final fuck you, kills himself in a way that kind of frames Laurie.
Yeah.
And then the door opens and the granddaughter's like, oh my God, you just murdered my boyfriend. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, 1,000%, this is where the screenplay originally ended. Because could you not see that image of her holding the knife and the
Yeah.
And I agree that's like the perfect way to have ended
It would have been
this.
fucking,
Yeah.
it would have been awesome if that's how it ended.
There had been a lot of other bullshit up to that point, but I think it would have been a pretty strong ending.
It would have been better than the ending we got. But had it ended that way, I don't think any of the characters, I guess, earned that ending. Like, I don't understand why Corey would kill himself.
To frame Laurie, because
I know, but why would he do that?
he's evil
He's a
incarnate.
fucking, yeah, he's an evil murderer.
Because that's
He would
an
have
evil
killed her.
thing to
He
do
should have
to
killed
her.
her. Wait, what?
Because that would have been an evil thing to do to her.
because
Frame her to ruin her relationship with her granddaughter forever? Is that not enough for you to be evil?
I just
And
don't
also,
buy
like-
the fact that a crazy murderer whose sole goal in life is to kill people would just end it on his first night just to get like some weird vengeance on a grandmother. It doesn't
know.
fucking make sense to me.
I think I guess you could say he did blame her for ruining his relationship with her, or ruining his potential relationship with her, but also Allison.
Yeah, you get vengeance on her by killing her.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like it.
It would have been a much more interesting ending.
Anyways, let's get on. So then the movie, unfortunately, has 10 more minutes that are fucking awful. Michael Myers shows up, and we get the showdown that the fans want.
It's like
I
a
guess.
fist fight with
He has a fist
70-year-old Jamie Lee
It's
Curtis.
two elderly people having a fight in a kitchen.
which I thought was
She
kind of
headbutts him
funny
at one point. It's
I
ridiculous.
thought it was kind of funny.
It was kind of funny.
It's
And like the whole thing where like she stabs through his hand and then
reminded
he like
me-
rips his hand out of it.
It
and
That was
like,
pretty cool.
It reminded me of the fight in like Batman v Superman, where like Batman picks up like the toilet drain thing or whatever and hits Superman with it.
That's
like it's just so stupid. Like it is kind of fun, but it's really dumb.
Yeah, it's like it is some of the fun, some of the most fun, like gruesome parts, I guess, because like that hand slicing scene and her really pinning him down. So it does feel very fan servicey though. Like it's like, yeah, Laurie, get him, because it's like she's finally like, no, I'm not, like, you know, where this is going out, like he's done, and she slits his wrist, cuts his throat, and everything. And then, what in my opinion is definitely the worst part of it is then the whole town then like comes together.
It was
This is
awful.
so fucking stupid.
And there's like that like music
The
playing.
sheriff shows up to remind you that he was in the other two movies.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I was here too. Oh yeah, the dude with the hat. I forget his
Yeah.
name. Oh my god.
He was like an important part of the other two movies.
They practically have a presidential motorcade just
Yeah.
going down the road, and everybody is standing on the side of the streets. Like, okay, my biggest issue with this, right, is how did everybody know to be out on that exact street on
texted
that
everyone.
route, like exact route, like
They
texted everyone.
like that immediately, you know? It's like,
yeah, it's a whole field group message. You know?
yeah.
What are you all doing tonight? Michael Myers burial? Question mark. No, it's like the stupidest fucking thing that has ever happened, and it's so funny as they're like leading him into it, and it's like this grand moment where they're just grinding a man to death.
I was
Yeah, they
expecting.
throw him in like a metal
Meat-
chipper,
metal? Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
whatever
At,
the
like,
fuck
the
that thing's
junkyard.
called. A crusher. I don't know.
Yeah, it's to like destroy definitive. Michael is done. There's no way he's coming back from that, but somehow he will. but it was it was just bad. It was just like a very uninteresting way to end that, and it does close the door of this trilogy. So I do give it props for that, as in they're just like, no, he is dead. This is it. This is the final moment for this trilogy. It's done. There's no revamping this or someone trying to continue.
This is the first time
thing.
they've acknowledged the trilogy, the whole movie, really.
Yeah, I mean, but it does also bug me because you see the people who were like talking shit to Laurie beforehand and everything that were like shitting on her, and they're just
Yeah.
there and they're just like, yeah, do it. Like, this is great. I don't know. it felt so like weird
It
and like
is.
cheesy, but not in a good way, and just that bad.
Yeah, I just did not understand the change of heart where now everybody's all about this shit again. And so,
Our friend Matt made a good point where he said this movie would have been really good if they didn't appeal to the crybabies in the last 10 minutes that would be bitching online, who already do bitch
no,
online.
I don't
but-
think it would be
I
really
mean-
good. I think it would be passable.
It would have been better, but I do think I do agree with Blake and Matt where it's like I really feel like they had a script lined up where Michael was barely in it, if in it at all, and where, you know, it's basically just Corey's rise to becoming, you know, the Shape, and they backed out and they're like, no, we can't do that. We can't make a movie without Michael Myers showing up, and then it's supposed to be the end of it. So then rather than it being symbolic of killing this guy who is the last, you know, I guess like poof of the evil, the curse of Michael Myers and what he's done to this town, it's like they have to actually kill Michael and toss him into the metal chipper thing, and it's like it just feels so like they had to appease those people just to be like, look, he's in here, and look, he really is dead, and it's fine, it's over.
And those people complained anyways that because I do see, and here's the thing. Part of what I don't like about talking about this movie critically online, everywhere you go, when people want to criticize it, that's all they ever talk about. Is it's always just there's not enough Michael Myers. It's not a real Halloween movie. I don't like it because Michael Myers isn't in it.
It would have been really ballsy, and I probably would have respected it more if they just didn't. If they just like had barely any Michael at all.
I like
Or like
the
Jason
amount.
said, like maybe have his corpse in the sewer, right?
Yeah.
And at first, because you know he's psychotic, what's his name? Corey doesn't like realize that Michael Myers is dead, but
Yeah.
he sees that there and it like seeps into his brain and he returns. And then finally at the end, when he's taking off the mask, instead of them showing him fighting with Michael Myers, he pulls off the mask and it's just a skull underneath. Like he's already dead and rotted away. And like
It would have been
that
another
would have been
homage
cool.
to Season of the Witch, because that's like the jack-o'-lantern skull. It's like
Oh, you haven't seen this movie, Ron.
I know enough of it.
I think it has the perfect amount of Michael Myers in it, minus the last 10 minutes. Because I like those sequences of him. I like there's 3 of them up until Michael Myers is out of the caves. I like those sequences a lot. I like the struggle. I really like the one where he goes and beats the shit out of Michael Myers. I don't know. I find it very interesting and it's really well shot. But yeah, that's Halloween Ends. It's kind of different. It does its own thing. I really fucking like it.
I don't.
Nor do I. But I mean, my opinion doesn't mean much on this one because, in general, I don't like these types of movies.
And I'm going to ask you, Ron, because I really like the fact that it's admittedly a terrible sequel to Halloween Kills, and it's a terrible end to a trilogy because it kind of just ignores the trilogy, right?
I wouldn't say it ignores it necessarily. I think if it was really trying to ignore it, it wouldn't even have like what's her face, Allison, or Laurie probably still.
You have to have Laurie.
Yeah, but that does bug me though. That's the thing that does bug me with a lot of these films where it's like you don't need Laurie to be in this movie. You don't really need Allison or whatever. And again, I don't think you even necessarily need Michael Myers. If this is the direction you're trying to go in this film, then it's like commit or don't. You know, it's a lot of that. It's like either trying to be like its own thing and just kind of carrying this legacy of Halloween, which is understandable. It's a Halloween movie, but the idea of like these, you know, someone going on a rampage and killing people on Halloween should be enough in the sense of like also, you know, dealing with the aftershock of like everything that's led up to this point would make a lot more sense, but they don't commit. And I think that's the big problem. That's what's holding this movie back a lot. There are other issues, but I think that's like the main thing is like if they had committed, I would have probably liked this movie a lot more, but they don't. So
I don't know.
Yeah.
I really like the whole arc that Corey Cunningham has.
I do. That's the thing. That's probably the thing I like the most about this movie. That and the opening is like what I really enjoyed. I was actually like, you know, leaning forward and like interested every time Corey was on screen, and I think that's a good testament to his acting. The guy who's like what American Barry Keoghan, what's his name?
I don't know his name.
Rowan Campbell. Yeah. He's really good. I really want to see him in more stuff too. I was like, I've never seen him in anything else. I don't believe I have, but I was like, oh, this guy, like, I like him. I want to see him in more shit.
He's super awesome in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was great.
I don't know, because I in with the Corey Cunningham thing, what I like is I like that it really carries the theme of this is about like the trauma after the slasher movie, right? This is about what happens after Halloween. This is what happens after your standard awful killing spree slasher movie. It's about all these characters and their shared trauma. And that's why Corey Cunningham kind of goes bad, right? Because this whole town is just a breeding ground for hatred and violence. Like everyone just seems to like fucking despise each other.
Yeah.
Like it's just there's this miserable cloud over Haddonfield. And that's ultimately what this kind of movie is about. And I really, really fucking dug that. I thought that was super dope.
That's like your opinion, man.
Yeah, my biggest issue is all of the interpersonal stuff that was going on. None of it landed for me.
Why?
It just didn't. I didn't buy.
They all seemed forced. All the relationships.
Yeah, I
were
didn't
very
buy the
forced.
fucking relationship between Allison and Corey.
The dorky little kids, or not, I guess they were like high schoolers or middle schoolers or whatever, that were like, oh yeah, buy me beer, and then they were bullying him.
Yeah.
They didn't seem real to me. They seemed like very characterized.
They're very tropey characters, but I think that's on purpose. I don't think that's like...
But like
Okay.
it could, even if it's on purpose, it could still be a flaw.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's a
we've
flaw
said
in
that
the
before,
movie.
yeah.
And I also didn't buy like it's not that I didn't buy it. I didn't get enough of the conflict between Laurie and Allison in order for their falling out to like mean what it meant.
I agree. I think there should have been a lot more build up because I think, funny enough, they do a decent job in Halloween 2018 with Laurie and her daughter. I forget the actress who does it, but she's also great and stuff. But they do a really good job of showing how she grew up with Laurie and how kind of miserable that was because Laurie was like the doomsday Halloween prepper, and she was like, I don't want to live with this life anymore. I don't want to live with this like burden of always being scared and being taught to like, you know, fear for my life. Every Halloween is like a nightmare. It sucks because of you. And I feel like they kind of blew their load by killing her off in the last film. So then that relationship was meant to carry over to Allison, and it didn't quite land or connect as much because Allison didn't really grow up in that environment. Yes, it's been a few years, but also they make a point to show that Laurie has also tried to evolve past that and move past that. So it's tough to kind of do both, to kind of get both of those sides of it. When Allison's like break from Laurie, it was hard. It was a little hard to believe.
I agree. Well said, Ron.
Yeah, I just didn't like this movie. I mean, but it's not the movie's fault necessarily. I'm not big on slashers. I thought it looked good. I don't know. Michael Myers, I feel like I probably would like one of his other movies better. Like probably
Watch the OG.
Honestly,
Yeah, watch the
I want to watch the original Halloween movie now, just so that I can definitively see it and say whether or not it appeals to me. But I mean, I don't think it will. But
Okay, so you guys want to move into overall opinions now?
Sure.
yeah.
All right. Well, Miles, you kind of gave us a bit, but like,
Oh, sorry.
how do you feel? No, it's cool. Like,
Yeah.
So I guess
It is a
overall,
unique perspective having like never actually sat down and watched another one
Yeah,
completely.
I mean, I know the bare minimum about the Halloween series, which is that there's a guy named Michael Myers who wears a mask and likes to stab and choke people.
yeah, it's.
I
that's
mean,
a
yeah,
lot
so
of it.
Yeah.
given what you know, how does this movie...
I mean, it's a movie that has a guy named Michael Myers in it who likes to stab and choke people, and he wears a mask. So, I mean, it passes, that litmus
Passes the test.
I don't know. Yeah,
what a purist.
it feels like the director or whoever came up with the concept for this movie. I don't necessarily know if that was the director who came up with the concept.
Yeah, I think this
for
is
the
very
plot?
much. I think David Gordon Green's like his project, like all three of these films. I don't know how much he had to do with kills because boy was
That was awful.
That was awful. But that was. It seems like yes, this is very much the direction he wanted to take the franchise.
Okay. So I think that the story, it seems like it could have been good. I don't think that the execution was great in terms of a writing perspective or a character perspective. Now, I do understand that the previous two movies, even though they were kind of his children also, they left a lot of stuff that he had to deal with. And it was like just part of the trilogy. And he kind of had to live with that. And I don't know how much of that contributed to the poor development of characters and the poor dialogue writing between characters. But overall, I thought it looked really good. The kills that were in this movie seemed like good kills. I mean, they weren't as campy as like the ones that we watched in Freddy vs. Jason.
No.
And it seemed like very serious. And yeah, I mean, so it looked good.
Historically, these movies tend to take themselves a little more seriously than like, Friday the 13th. They know, what they're doing.
But I mean, I think it took itself seriously.
Yeah, no,
but
it absolutely did.
To a certain extent, I would say it failed at taking itself seriously because
We did laugh a lot.
Yeah, well, and
It may have been
because
'cause
of
we
the
were
bad
drunk.
characters. Like I didn't care about any of the characters, right? Like, oh, who's this Lori person? I mean, like, why should we care about her? Like, who are all these other characters? Like Corey, okay, so you're supposed to care about him after seeing him babysit for one night. He's a very bland character.
I don't think that's true.
I very strongly disagree with
I think he's a good character. I think he's the strongest part of this movie.
Yeah, but he's the only one that they develop at all
Exactly.
in this movie.
Exactly.
It
But
is
they
kinda
develop
his
him
movie.
into a bland character. I feel like if there were other side characters to go along with it, that they developed even a little bit, I might have enjoyed it and appreciated it more. Or like nobody in this movie died that I actually cared about. It was like everybody who died, I was like, oh, okay, they're dead now. Like that's not a good thing for a slasher movie to be. You need the people who are dying in a slasher film to be people who you're like, oh no, they just died. Like you can have a couple throwaway characters, usually at the beginning of the movie before you start developing any of the real characters. But other than that, you need to have those.
I think
Fair
you
enough.
just like hit on a really important point, is that there was very little tension in this movie when it came to the kills. Because I agree completely. I did not give a fuck about any of the people that died. And that is like kind of something that's very important for movies like these. You want them to get away. You want them to win. But like, I had none of that. Maybe Lori at the end, just because I know her from previous movies.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. Like, when he was killing those bullies, I was just like, okay, cool. Like, fucking kill him.
Yeah, but also there was no tension with Lori because, of course, they weren't going to kill her off.
Well,
She survived
This
all
would
this
be
time.
the movie where they do it.
Yeah, I
though.
thought
Yeah.
she was gonna die, and I would have been fine if she died. Like if Allison had been, taking on the final girl role. I'm sure she does in the other movies. I don't know, but like
not really. Unfortunately, Lori kind of steals that.
well,
a lot.
if it had been Allison, like what if he did kill Lori, and then Allison's like takes on the mantle of Lori, and now we have this new generation battling each other at the end.
That could have been good. That could have been
That would
good.
have been interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jason, do you want to move into your final thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I said this the other night. I think it's not that great of a movie with a lot of good things going on inside of it. Like, I really like the stuff with Corey until I don't. I really like the way it's shot. I really like the music is great, but like it just doesn't fit together in a way that I like. I don't know.
Not satisfying.
Yeah, it's like the pieces didn't really fit. And I don't know what David Gordon Green's original idea for this was, but it felt like, I don't know, some of the pieces are just missing. So, yeah, I didn't like it.
I'll say, like overall, like kind of like what we've been saying a lot, which is like I respect this movie for trying to take Halloween in a different direction. I appreciate the fact that they were like trying to pass the mantle and everything, but the lack of commitment is really what killed it for me. And a lot of like the characterizations, like you're saying, I think a lot of them really weren't quite likable enough, I think, because that is a thing. You do kind of want to like and root for certain people. Even Halloween Kills, I want to say, or definitely at least Halloween 18. I remember there was a few side characters who you just get introduced to briefly. I think like, was it Malcolm something? It doesn't matter. But like there are a few characters that get introduced where you actually care about them, even though they only have like a little 5-minute brief window where you're like, oh, look at this sweet, gay couple at home and like celebrating Halloween, and then they
Nuts
just
and
get
kills.
Yeah, they always
brutally-
give you something. Like we
Yeah.
didn't have the bullies be, sympathetic. You want your victims to be sympathetic.
You give them a
to
little
some degree.
They do have a little bit of sympathy they give when they showing the bully being bullied, which is
Okay.
kind of I think honestly
I
it's
somehow missed that scene.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I didn't really care about that.
it
at
is
all.
it is kind of another played out trope, which is I think it's kind of a weird thing where I feel like this is the first movie in the franchise where they're trying to touch on and become a little bit more of the quote unquote like elevated horror thing where they're kind of inverting it a bit, even the way it's kind of shot and even some of the music at certain points where like it felt like they're trying to step in, like they're trying to push Halloween into the next generation, but with also being too scared to like actually do it. Like they're not quite ready yet, or like maybe the studio or whoever it was just like couldn't didn't have the cojones to like really commit to it. And I think it fails, or it fails in a lot of ways because of that. But overall I did like it way more than Halloween Kills. It piqued my interest a lot more than I was expecting it to, but it does leave me feeling very disappointed, and unfortunately, so it's not one that I'm gonna revisit. I think I would probably rather watch H2O again than watch this one, to be
Yeah, that
perfectly
movie's
honest.
funny.
Yeah, like there's a
LL Cool
lot more-
J kills it in that movie.
Yeah, there's a lot more other ones that I would probably watch first. But that being said, I'd put it like probably top 5 Halloween films. There's been a lot, so that's something. But
the one series where being in the top 5 is like an accolade.
yeah, so I would put it up there. But still, it was overall disappointing. That's like sorry Halloween. Sorry, David Gordon Green, who probably doesn't give a shit.
Don't worry, David Gordon Green. I got your back.
So Blake,
I really fucking like this movie. I think it was made to be subversive. It was made to be different. It was made to go in a direction you don't expect it to be. And to your point that there's no one, you're not really rooting for any of the survivors or anything. I see it as a different kind of movie. It's not your typical slasher movie. I see it's more like you're rooting for Corey not to become the villain. And that's kind of the ride you're taking on.
When he does become the villain, though, then you're rooting for no one, and it's just like, who cares?
No,
because I'm not rooting for Corey once he's killing everybody, but I'm also not rooting for the people that he's killing.
No,
so like I just don't fucking care.
But the whole
he does
movie,
kind of become more of a vengeful killer, and that's very different than Michael, who is
just like a killing machine
Yeah,
with no
he's-
rhyme or
yeah.
reason.
I'm sorry, but when I cared more about the characters in Freddy versus Jason than I did in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's...
You care more about them than Corey Cunningham?
Yes!
the stoner guy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Corey
The
Cunningham is
stoner
a
guy was
great
actually,
character.
like, interesting.
well,
I will say Corey
cared-
was a great character.
He
I
was a
really
great
did enjoy
character.
him
Yeah.
a lot.
But hey,
You can't just have one great character. You need to have a cast of characters. Like, that's the thing behind these slashers.
I really liked how this movie played out. I think that the last 10 minutes is a fucking travesty. And I bet you that was a studio note or something. Like they were like, hey, David Gordon Green, we couldn't help but notice that Michael Myers doesn't show up in the last 10 minutes. So let's get to that. I think it works. I think that Halloween 2018 is kind of like The Force Awakens, and this is kind of like The Last Jedi, right? Like, this is the one that really pushes the boundaries and is trying to do something new and different.
Yeah.
I don't think that it is an absolute...
I don't like The Last Jedi either.
Okay,
I've never
that's
seen
fine.
it.
We're not talking Star Wars. That's a hard rule on this podcast.
Well, you brought it up, bud.
I know. But I do think it's a good comparison because I've had a lot of people agree with me on that. I just think this is a really interesting movie that does something different, and it's a new take on the thrasher genre for the modern age, and I really fucking like it for that. I think it's awesome.
It is unique. It is different, but I don't think it's good either.
It's like modern art, just because it's different and it's out there doesn't necessarily make it good.
Yeah, do you see the guy who sold a sculpture that was invisible for like fucking $100,000?
I believe it. There's people out there who have so much money to spend on this stuff that
This
they
is
buy
nothing.
the story instead of the actual thing.
He's speaking on the intric. He's speaking on what is like the tangible art. Okay,
What is
it
this?
you,
The
or
Emperor's
is
New
it-
Clothes?
or is it what does you put in?
Emperor's New Clothes?
Yeah,
Oh, that's the
Yeah,
that's the
funny.
one where the tailor makes the emperor a new set of clothes that
Oh,
are
gotcha.
invisible,
Yeah,
so he walks around naked.
I mean that's part of it. I mean it's a commentary on like
Yeah.
the current art scene. Anyways, but that's still okay. So that's
like
your
it.
final thoughts.
It's
then?
a great villain origin movie for something that'll never be continued. Essentially.
So I'm gonna recommend if you've seen the other two movies,
Oh,
you
sorry.
might as well just watch this movie.
One last thought.
I think.
And I genuinely believe this is one of, if not the best Halloween sequel ever made.
Ooh, okay. That's,
One of, if not the best.
Two's better.
I agree.
Two's-
Two is better.
I like 2 more, but you have to understand 2 for some reason is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It's not good, but it's a great time.
I would say-
and I can't wait to rewatch this movie because this is going to be a regular October rotation for me.
Oh god.
Oh,
And you are all going to have to watch it.
I'm not watching this
Can we
with you
watch the
ever again.
original Halloween instead of this? I would
hell
be
yeah.
more willing to do that.
Okay. All right. So that's Halloween ends, folks.
It ended.
It ended. Now let's get into.
Remember when Michael Myers looked at the camera and went, "Wow, look at that! November 1st. I guess Halloween ends."
Well, last thought I think is really funny is that they asked Jason Blum, the producer behind it, if there were going to be any more films or this really was the final film in the series, and he said that there will be more films because Malik Akkad, who's like the producer behind this trilogy, has a clause that prohibited Michael Myers to be killed, and quote, what he does only he knows, but we are done, end quote. Any future films will likely follow a separate continuity. And it's like, yeah, no shit. Because it's like, you're telling me that they, like, how
no
did
way.
he get around that?
You're gonna see the particles like all loop back together and like reform,
Like the
reform
T-1000?
into a shape.
Yeah.
What?
It's like, how did he possibly write that? How did he get that greenlit then where they're just like, he can't kill Michael Myers? And it's like, he really did.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how you could
Well,
possibly
there's a
squeeze
TV
that
show
up.
coming soon, so we'll be talking about Halloween again when that comes around.
Okay, so that's the end of the Halloween ends section. Now we're going to go into what we've been watching lately.
What
so.
have you been watching watching, Ronald?
Me? Okay. Well, I've been watching The Terror on Netflix. It's AMC's like mini series. It's like 10 episodes or so. And honestly, I love it. It's been like my new thing. I'm so happy that I started watching it around now the spooky season because basically it follows a true story of these two ships. It was the Terror and the oh god, I forget the name of the second ship, but it's like the dark, like it's one of the dark Greek gods or something, Erebus. And basically they're trying to explore the Arctic Circle. They're trying to find a new way to get around the American continent without having to go all the way past South America through the Arctic Circle, and they end up getting stuck out there. And in real life, what happened is both ships disappeared. The crew were never seen or heard from ever again. And you get to kind of follow the theoretical version. I think this is based off of a book of what happened to the crew and all of the tension, because they were gone for I think like 3 or 4 years. Like they were supplied for like 3 years. They were like in this about as advanced as they could with these ships for the time. It takes place like the 1800s, but something went terribly wrong, and then they just all disappeared. And the tension and like and they do lean a bit into like I don't want to spoil anything, but there's like a bit of a supernatural factor of it, which I think is more based off of the book that the show is based on. So it does kind of like lean more into that, but it works really well because it's creepy as hell. And you get to see like all of the horrible things. It's surprisingly like graphic, and there's just like there's like the interpersonal relationships that's going on in the ship is because like men that are stuck together in a horrible situation for years at a time, there are going to be some crazy tensions and things that happen, and like, you know, possible mutinies and all of this shit that's going on. And there is like in other aspects of it where it's like everything is trying to kill them, whether it's the weather, the landscape. It's like a desolate planet. It's like almost like a space exploration, like if these guys were dropped on Mars, because there's nothing around. Like there's just ice and flat bare stone, and everything is trying to kill them. And it's like, it's very sad, interesting, and creepy. There's like a lot of like, there's like a scene in like the first episode where they drop a dude in like who's trying to like clear the rudder, and he's like in one of those like old timey
like diving bells?
Diving suits, yeah. And he has to clear, and he's just sitting. You see him like getting lowered into this black abyss of nothing, and he's looking around, and you have no clue. And especially at this time, like you just have no idea what could be coming out of that water from anywhere. And I'm not going to spoil what happens, but it's a great show, and also a great cast too. A lot of actors that were like in HBO's Rome and Game of Thrones are like in this show, and it's so good. Please watch it. Yeah.
What was the name of the show again?
The Terror.
The Terror. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting.
I might give it a look.
Yeah.
What about you, Miles? What have you been watching?
So I, in a similar vein, I rewatched Stargate Universe over the last week or so. It's a show about a group of people who go out many, many galaxies away, basically unreachable. It was a one-way trip. And now they're stuck there on a decaying spaceship that is basically just traveling from point to point on a journey to somewhere, and they don't know. And all the old systems...
That's the plot of Star Trek Voyager.
I was just going to say, that's Star Trek Voyager.
And all the old systems are falling apart, and they have to repair them. And, you know, it's a, million-year-old spaceship, and they don't really have control over it. And
Nice.
Nobody really knows what they're supposed to do. Like, the first couple episodes are like them trying to make sure that the air recyclers don't break down. And in order to do that, they basically need to go scour a desert planet to find the right minerals to fix the whatever they're called.
Yeah.
And then there's another episode where they're running out of water. So they have to like go to like a Hoth planet where it's like negative 100 degrees, and in spacesuits harvest like just ice so that they can have water so that they don't die. And it's just really, sad a little bit, and it's them struggling to try to survive. It was a good show.
How many episodes have?
I think that there's a total of like 40-ish episodes.
Okay, so it's like
This
2
is
seasons.
Atlantis?
Yeah.
You said?
No, this was Stargate Universe.
Universe.
Yeah, that was the most recent one.
It's the most interested I've been in Stargate.
Well,
I'll say so
it
far.
broke the mold of the Stargate shows, right?
Yeah.
It's critically was not as well received, and not as many people watched it as watched the other two series, because it leaned more into that interpersonal drama. You kind of have to when you're stuck to one set and these people are living together in tight spaces.
Yeah.
It's shot very grittily, a lot of point of view filming. So
Sick. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is interesting, because that is a knock on Voyager, is that they are out there, they are all alone, but you never really, I mean, you see them struggle through Star Trek episodes, but you never really see them struggle for resources and things like that. And that would have been cool to see. So maybe I could get that if I watch Universe.
Honestly, I would recommend watching Stargate Atlantis first. Or Stargate SG-1, but Stargate SG-1, it's 10 seasons, and it takes till the third season till they really find their footing.
I'm not gonna lie, I hate when shows are like that. When someone's like, you gotta watch it, but you gotta really just kind of grind through.
You would hate every Star Trek series from the 90s.
Yeah, TNG doesn't pick up till season 3.
No,
Yeah.
Blake, I think, introduced me in a very fun way to Star Trek, where, which I think he learned from you, Jason, of he just
Cycle of Star Trek over here.
yeah, where it was Next Generation. I'd never seen Next Generation, and he just we watched a couple episodes very out of order, but I was like, I want to watch this. This is very interesting.
Yeah, for TNG, it's a little easier because it really is just episodic. You should watch it in order, but you don't have to. It's fine.
I'll
but
say
like,
it did
for
inspire me
something
to go back and watch it more in order.
Yeah,
That first season's fucking
like
rough.
Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, Jason just
It's
introduced me
pretty
to that.
rough to start off with, but you have to, because it's a much more serialized show, especially in the later seasons.
Well, and I've watched the first 3 episodes of Deep Space Nine now after you showed it to me, and yeah, there's a lot of setup going on, setting up the plot of what's going on. Now, I'm not really a Star Trek guy, so I'm still asking questions what's the backstory with this this species, and how do they mix with the galactic world order or what it is.
Federation.
the Federation.
Galactic World Order.
I
It
don't-
is very lore heavy.
Yeah.
It is.
So what about
Even
you?
watching TNG, sometimes I'll be like, Jason, what's the context? Because I know there is one.
So Jason, what are you watching?
I've been watching Star Trek.
Oh my god.
But we just talked about that. So I started up Justified again.
Oh, did you finish Daredevil?
No, actually, I should. I think I have 4 episodes left. I should just go back and finish that. But I started up Justified again. I finished season 1. It does get better towards the end. Walton Goggins is incredible. And his relationship with, what's his name? Timothy Oliphant is really what makes that show good. And there wasn't a whole lot of that in the first season. But I suspect that's going to be the driving force moving forward. Because it's kind of like they're frenemies. They sometimes work together. Sometimes they're at odds with one another. And it's good. It's good. It's good writing. So I'm curious to see how that goes.
Blake?
I'm just continuing my BoJack Horseman rewatch. I'm at season 3 right now. I think I'm an episode or two away from the. I don't know if you guys recall from your BoJack rewatch that there's a point in season 3 where it just becomes this downfall, where 5 episodes in a row just get progressively more depressing.
That's a lot of BoJack, but
No, but in season 3 there really is a domino effect for
Yeah, because they set up so much stuff. They kind of bring it to this really high point so that it can just drop down even lower for the last couple episodes.
the last 4 or 5 episodes of that season are some of the most disastrous and depressing places I think the whole show gets to.
is that the Secretariat season?
Yep.
Well, it's the season where he's promoting the movie for the Academy Awards. The Secretariat season where he's portraying Secretariat is season 2.
Gotcha.
Really fucking awesome show, though. You guys all know that, except for Jason. It's awesome. I don't know. It's a really good season. Season 3. I actually watched the first episode with Miles when it first came out of season 3. I recall that.
Yep. That was a good watch through. We were very heavy into that show back in the day.
Still am.
Well, I mean, but we were actively watching it, talking about it every day. Yeah.
Good times. Well, does anybody else have any last thoughts or anything they'd like to say?
And you could skip Halloween Ends.
I would say, honestly, watch it and decide for yourself. I am not the only person on the planet that likes it. I have seen a few other people that share similar opinions to me.
After Googling, quote unquote, I really like Halloween Ends, and like finding threads of people like fucking
not-
standing on
I
their
will
Join
say-
the Halloween Ends support group, you know? So,
I will.
Halloween Ends Anonymous. Blake goes once a week.
My name is Blake, and
I like
I like
Halloween,
Halloween
Ends.
Ends. It started one Thursday when I put it on. I didn't think it was going to be a big deal, but I watch it at work. I watch it when I come home. Sometimes I watch a little bit in the morning, and then a lot of it through the day to keep me going. But for real, I think you should watch it and decide for yourself.
I agree. I think if you're a Halloween fan, it's definitely worth watching. I would say skip Halloween Kills, but watch Halloween 2018. I think it's definitely an interesting addition to the franchise. That's like I think that's the best I could say.
And in case you want to stay in touch, next week, what are we watching, Ron? It's Ron's pick.
Oh, we are watching 1922's Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror.
Oh,
And if you want to keep up with Dutch, because there is a million different versions of this film that are out there, I would say watch the one that's on Amazon right now. It's the colorized version, but I'm literally desaturating it because it's stupid that it's in color. It doesn't work at all. It's not like the tinted versions, because there are some of those out there too. But I think it works best in black and white, in my opinion. So I would say watch that version because it's pretty good.
okay.
All right, I'm excited. Never seen it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
It'll definitely be the oldest film we've ever talked about too.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
What is the oldest film? I think it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, we'll talk to. We can
oldest
talk that
film
next week.
ever?
There's
Or-
like
No, that we watched on this podcast.
it probably will be this.
maybe
one.
like Casablanca.
No. The sound movie. A Man Escaped.
A Man Escaped, maybe.
I want to say Casablanca might predate that.
What about Nightmare Alley, the original one that we watched?
That's like the 50s.
Yeah, that's like
right?
that's later.
yeah. I don't know. We'll figure it out at some point.
Yeah. Man Escaped, 1956.
Okay.
Casablanca,
Oh, that's
1942.
Confirm
So,
Nightmare
Okay.
Alley really quick, just because.
oh, Nightmare Alley. Okay.
I want to say that was the 50s.
Well, it was set in the 1920s, but it was probably shot in the 1950s.
1947.
Oh,
So it's
so it
very
is-
close.
yeah.
Casablanca.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, next week. Bye. See ya.
As
Right.
Michael Myers would say, Halloween ends.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.